At my company's anniversary party, a drunk investor asked me, "Why did you sell your shares so cheap?" I laughed, confused. "What are you talking about? I haven't sold anything." He blinked slowly, bourbon sloshing in his glass. "Hudson, my firm bought 15% of VitaTech last month. Your shares. Your partner said you were cashing out to start something new." My blood turned to ice. I founded VitaTech in my garage 4 years ago. I owned 45%. My business partner Drew owned the other 55 because he put up the initial capital. We built this medical software company from nothing. "Drew told you I was selling?" I asked carefully, my heart hammering against my ribs. The investor nodded, pulling out his phone and scrolling through emails with clumsy fingers. "Yeah, here. Signed agreement and everything. Thought it was weird you didn't come to the closing, but Drew said you were dealing with a family emergency." I stared at the forwarded document. My signature, my shares, sold for $180,000, which sounded like a fortune until you did the math. We'd just been valued at $12 million in our Series B funding round 3 months ago. 15% should have been worth $1.8 million, not $180,000. "I need to make a phone call," I said, my voice sounding distant and hollow. I found Drew on the balcony, schmoozing with potential clients, his arm draped casually over the railing like he owned the whole damn building, which apparently he now almost did. "Drew, can we talk? Now, let's go to my office," he said quietly. We rode the elevator in absolute silence. In his office, the bigger one, because he'd insisted that's what CEOs needed, he finally spoke. "Hudson, you have to understand the position we were in." "What position?" I demanded, my hands curling into fists at my sides. "The position where we just secured $8 million in funding? Where are hospitals begging to implement our software? That position?" He ran his fingers through his perfectly styled hair, messing it up for the first time since I'd known him. "The board wanted changes. They wanted someone with more business experience leading operations. So you forged my signature and sold my shares?" "I didn't forge anything," he said quickly, too quickly. "You signed a blanket authorization form when we incorporated. Remember? For routine transactions and paperwork, while you were focused on development?" I did remember. 5 pages of legal documents I trusted him to explain. "That wasn't authorization to sell my ownership behind my back. It was restructuring," he corrected, his voice taking on that patronizing tone he used with difficult clients. "The company needed to consolidate ownership for the next funding round. You're still employed. You're still CTO. You're still drawing a salary." "I'm an employee of my own company," I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "You're a developer, Hudson," Drew said, standing up and straightening his tie. "A brilliant one. But this company needed someone who understands business strategy, investor relations, and market positioning. Someone who can scale this thing properly. I built this company too, Hudson. I put in my own money, my own connections, my own reputation. You wrote code. I built a business. With my code," I said, "my innovation, my 4 years of sleeping 4 hours a night because I believed we were partners. I believed we were building something together. And we did," he said, gesturing at the skyline through his floor-to-ceiling windows. "Look at what we built. You should be proud. Proud that you stole 70% of what I earned. I paid fair market value based on a forced sale provision," he said, slipping into legal language. "Check the incorporation documents. Everything was technically legal. Technically legal. Like that made it right. Like that erased the betrayal. I created VitaTech," I said, my voice shaking with rage I'd been holding back. "The algorithm that every hospital wants? That's mine. The user interface that makes nurses cry with relief? Mine. The security protocols? Mine. And you'll keep creating," Drew said, sitting back down like this conversation was finished. "That's your role. That's what you're good at." "No," I said. "That's not my role anymore." He looked up sharply. "Hudson, don't be dramatic. You can't quit. You have a 3-year employment contract." I pulled out my own phone, opening the email I'd been drafting for 2 months but never dared to send. My finger hovered over the button. "What's that?" Drew asked, a trace of concern finally cracking his confident facade. "My acceptance letter," I said. "Stanford offered me a research position 3 months ago. Full lab funding, graduate students, no corporate oversight. I was going to turn it down because I thought we were partners, because I thought this company meant something." I hit send. "You can enforce my contract," I said, walking toward the door. "But good luck scaling when your entire codebase is locked in one person's head. Every shortcut, every workaround, every piece of documentation I never got around to writing because I was too busy actually building things." Drew jumped up. "Hudson, wait, we can renegotiate. We can fix this." As I left VitaTech's offices for the last time, I felt lighter than I had in months. He'd taken my company, but he hadn't taken what actually mattered. And watching him try to reverse engineer 4 years of my work without me, that would be worth more than any shares ever could be.